Okay, so out of all the ideas that have been going around the trade rumor mill, this one is one of the weirder ones, and I kind of feel conflicted about it. So today, what we're doing is we're going over to an article talking about Anaheim Ducks goaltender John Gibson, and some ideas as to where he could potentially get traded to. Now, before we dive into that, I wanted to just look at the Anaheim Ducks in the standings a little bit, because when it comes to this squad, I mean, I'll admit the Ducks actually are playing pretty well comparative to what I thought they'd be capable of doing, but they are 3-7-0 in their last 10. They have 26 points in 35 games played at the time of recording this audio. They're below Edmonton and Calgary. They're not making the playoffs this year. And with this in mind, if you wanted to talk about a potential rebuild, you want to talk about handing the torch over, John Gibson is 30 years old. He's making $6.4 million till the end of 26-27, and the Ducks have a backup goaltender in one Lukas Dostal, whom you could debate is looking to be a very good player as his career progresses. Now, Gibson, at this point in the season, has a .909 save percentage and a .277 goals against in 23 games played. Dostal's numbers are inferior to that, but Dostal also happens to be 23 years old. So there's a lot of progression here to be had, there's a lot of potential heading into the future, and I think Dostal is pretty much seen by most as the goaltender of the future in Anaheim, especially considering John Gibson's status as a 30-year-old guy. So, when it comes to the idea of sending him away, sending him to another team to take on his services and potentially fill the crease with some other jersey, we had ourselves an article published on Bleacher Report by Lal Richardson, the Spectres hockey guy, talking about top trades and landing spots for Anaheim Ducks goaltender John Gibson among the NHL's rumors. This article will be linked in the description, and it goes over a bunch of NHL teams and the potential of them acquiring Gibson. Finding a suitable fit for this player is challenging considering the high number of teams with limited salary cap space this year. It might take until next summer to find a suitable trade partner. That's when the salary cap is projected to rise by 4.2 mil, giving potential suitors more cap dollars to work with. Nevertheless, we've listed 5 teams that could be landing spots for Gibson by the March 8 trade deadline, provided they're not on his no-trade list. Feel free to tell us what you think about our choices in the app comment section. If you scroll down to the bottom of the article, the 4th team out of 5 that is listed as a potential Gibson destination is none other than the Detroit Red Wings. Now, my immediate instinct upon seeing that was, okay, why? I mean, the Wings have 3 goalies on their roster already, so why go out there and add another one? I mean, there are some injuries, there are some extra guys taking time off, I get it, it's not definitively 3, but between Lyon, Hutchinson, Husso, and James Reimer, this team already has their goaltending, and you could say that Lyon has been so good that he should be the main guy. This is the player to potentially take over the reins within the short-term future for this squad, right? Plus, Lyon is like the same age as Gibson. He's 31, Gibson's 30, it's pretty much the same. So what gives here? Well, the article goes out there and says this: the Wings have been trying to rebuild without an experienced starting goaltender playing in his prime. They're getting mixed results with their current trio of Husso, Reimer, and Lyon. Husso and Lyon haven't established themselves yet as starters, while the 35-year-old Reimer is best suited for backup duty. With the Wings once again sinking in the standings and in danger of missing the playoffs for what would be a franchise record 8th straight season, it might be time for GM Stevie Y to consider bringing in an experienced starting goaltender like John Gibson. Gibson's improvement this year suggests that he could be a good addition to a deeper roster. With a projected $11 million in trade deadline cap space, the Wings could afford to take on Gibson's salary, and with over $30 million in cap room next year, it won't be a problem absorbing his contract for the long term. Plus, Ducks GM Pat Verbeek worked with Stevie Y in Detroit before moving to Anaheim. Perhaps the two can work out a deal to their mutual benefit here. Verbeek could seek a promising youngster such as Marco Kasper, Simon Edvinsson, or Axel Sandin Pellikka in the return, especially if Yzerman were to ask him to retain part of Gibson's cap hit. Now, okay, when you get into that territory, you talk about the idea of the Wings wanting an experienced goaltender. I will say the one thing that Stevie Y has not done this entire time, despite all of the critiques, we talked about this in a video a few days ago, that some fans may be starting to lose their hope in the Yzer plan based off of how they're treating Simon Edvinsson. But despite all of that, the one thing Stevie Y has not done this entire time has been the act of trading away their prospects. So this entire idea is one that I, all of a sudden, have completely detached from. Like, sure, the idea in theory makes sense to get a guy like Gibson. If you really wanted a solidified #1 starting goaltender, Gibson can be that. You could debate that Lyon is actually an upgrade based off of the statistics this year, but I digress. Gibson has a much better track record, which is why this is even being discussed. But the idea of trading away some of the prospects the team has, especially recently drafted guys like Axel Sandin Pellikka, I'm sorry, dude, but you lost me. Unless the Red Wings really decided that, hey, we don't care about this guy. We drafted him just a few months ago. All of a sudden, boom, we're trading him away for John Gibson. All of a sudden, that doesn't make any sense. And when you think about it like that, if you wanted to go down the trade tree, Axel Sandin Pellikka was taken from the New York Islanders' first pick that was acquired by the Red Wings from the Vancouver trade with Filip Hronek. If you wanted to say that Filip Hronek ended up becoming Axel Sandin Pellikka, that makes sense. Right-handed D for right-handed D. If ASP becomes the #1 power play defender that we're all expecting him to be able to become, then great. It works out, especially considering Filip Hronek's success in Vancouver. But if you trade ASP away for Gibson, you would have essentially changed Filip Hronek into a 30-year-old goalie who's making $6.4 million till the end of 2027. Like, sure, if there's salary retained, it's a little bit different there, but still. John Gibson, you need to make sure this guy's gonna be the guy if you're gonna even think about making a trade like this. And it was only just a few years ago when he was a .910, .920 save percentage goalie. Actually, no, it's been like 4 or 5 years since then, actually. Even last season, Gibson had a .399 goals against and an .899 save percentage. Like, if that happens again in Detroit after the Wings trade away a guy like Axel Sandin Pellikka, then you thought people were starting to turn and lose hope on Stevie Y now? Oh ho ho boy, well that's gonna get even crazier if this trade ends up going down. And from the Anaheim point of view, if you're already thinking about trading Gibson away, if you're already thinking that Dostal is probably going to be your guy, you want to ride it out, the learning, growth, development years of Dostal in the NHL, then fine. Make a trade for Gibson, send him away, get another backup goalie to kind of share the load, I guess, maybe a 1A, 1B type situation with Dostal, and then try to see what other value you can get. If ASP is the guy coming over to Anaheim, I think they like it a lot. Like, I think this is a good trade for them, but also it's one where I start to question their direction because with the Ducks having such a stacked young blue line already, with Michkov, Luneau, you've got Jamie Drysdale in there, not to mention Olen Zellweger, who is still an Anaheim Ducks prospect too. There's going to be so many top-tier defenseman prospects on this Ducks squad that you kind of have to wonder where they're going to go with this. If you get ASP, that is, right? You already have a lot of defensive prospects that are valuable in their own right, so maybe it isn't ASP, maybe it is somebody else like a Marco Kasper or something, which also would feel pretty weird just seeing that entire thing go down. But either way, if you're a Red Wings fan, what are your thoughts on this idea? Do you think the Wings should go out there and try to get a starting goalie like John Gibson? Do you see a trade like this actually being possible? Do you think the Wings could trade away a guy like Edvinsson Kasper or Axel Sandin Pellikka for a 30-year-old goaltender who is a slight upgrade over Lyon in his current state? Yeah, when I say it like that, you can kind of tell what direction I'm leaning down. But I guess if track records are a thing that you value, then hey, there is one here in Gibson that is not present in the Lyon or Husso profiles, which would make sense. It's just I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments as to whether or not that means something to you. So Wings fans, Ducks fans, let me know your thoughts about this. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read the article because there are some other trade ideas tossed in there with other teams. Of course, there are other conversations we could have. So I guess if you're a Ducks fan and you wanted to see what the market could provide for Gibson, then hey, Lyle Richardson's your guy. So, Bleacher Report, it's in the description if you want to go ahead and read it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Gibson for ASP idea. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.